Hi and welcome to day 11 of Figuary. The idea is that you watch the daily guidance video here at Love Life Drawing and then go to the Croquis Cafe channel and do their daily practice session. Today we're going to look at different ways of shading depending on how much time you have. And as always, these are suggestions, these are ideas you can take or leave rather than hard and fast rules. If you don't have much time, like 60 seconds, just draw the edges of the simplest shadow shapes in the figure. And it's not necessary to fill with shade, because as we talked about, it's the edge that tells you about the shift in planes facing the light to the ones facing away from the light. Here's some examples from Chris Glib. Notice how in some drawings he does have hatching to fill with shade, but in others he doesn't, and it still works. You still understand the shape of the figure and it still feels 3D. Using a softer and wider line for these edges than for the outlines is often effective too. Notice the difference in the type of line that Lane Brown has used here versus the outline. The surface is organic and in many places it's curved, so the plane change is not sudden. If it is sudden and you see a harsh edge, then by all means make the edge harder. And that's one approach, but Chris Glib's fine liner pens, they're not made for those soft, fat lines, but he uses light lines for the edges of the shadows and it still works great with that style. Just before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We're constantly coming up with really useful and clear guidance about life drawing, and the Croquis Cafe channel puts out fantastic resources every week too. Also, let us know how Figuary is going for you in the comments and use the hashtag Figuary on Instagram. So the edges are the main thing to get in place. If you have a little more time, you could add 1 to 2 levels of tone for shade. You could fill the shape. For 2 minutes, maybe add 1 level. But if you have 5 minutes, add 2 or 3 levels. It's often effective to keep these tonal areas fairly flat, rather than trying to get lots of gradation and detail into the tone in a short time. We're just going for the most important information, and that's given by the edges. If you have more time, like 15 to 60 minutes or something like that, you can get more levels of gradation and nuance in there, and that's up to you. But even then, even when you want to go detailed, starting with the big simple shapes is often the best way to go for the early stages of your drawing. You can build on more complexity from there, but the early layers, keep them simple. These are longer pastel drawings by Mako and they're more developed, but notice that the colors are still basically simple shapes. So today during a practice session, if you have a very short amount of time for the pose, focus on the edges of the shadow shapes rather than full-on shading. If you have a little bit more time, maybe just try a few levels of tone. So I hope you enjoy today's practice session. Don't forget to use the hashtag Figuary on Instagram and enjoy your Croquis Cafe practice, and I'll see you here tomorrow.